Bad Brad Berkwitt show is all about moving humanity forward and fighting for democracy. And remember, folks, every act of kindness is a little love we leave behind. Hey, folks, the man with the pinky ring and the New York thing. Forget about it. Bad Brad Berkwitt. And welcome to the Bad Brad Berkwitt show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. Forget about it. My special guest today was diehard in the MAGA cult that on January 6th, she got caught up in the insurrection led by Donald Trump, who still refuses to take responsibility. As well, she was convicted for her crimes that day and has taken responsibility for her actions and turned them into activism, trying to get the word out of how evil Trump and the MAGA cult are. We will talk about all this today in our 360 conversation, where you will also learn about her as a person. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome the one and only Pam Hemphill. Forget about it. All right, well, Pam, since you're an hour ahead of me, good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
What I want to do is read something for you and the viewers. I want to lay some context down how I want to go into this 360 conversation, and then we'll go right into it. I want you to know, Pam, that nothing you say on my show today is going to be edited. I don't edit. So whatever you say is what it's going to be. I don't take you out of context. I want everybody to hear your voice. That's very big for me. Second, I want you to know if I ask you a hard question, it is coming from a place of really wanting to know, understand, and not personally attacking you. I don't do that on my show. I may ask you some hard questions, and it may seem like I'm coming at you. I'm not coming at you in that way. I want you to know I'm trying to understand. I'm also trying to educate my viewers.
Okay.
Okay. And finally, I always start out my shows like this. If I have anything wrong in my notes, because I do a lot of research, watch a lot of clips on my guests. If I have something wrong, please say, hey, Brad, it's actually this, because the military in me wants my conversations to be as factually correct as they can possibly be.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start like this. We're going to start out at the beginning. It looks like you were born in Los Angeles and raised in San Diego. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Talk about growing up there.
Oh, boy. Well, you mean my childhood or the city?
Well, my next question is about, I know we talked offline about dysfunctional, but talk about, let's get into that next, but talk about just growing up in that area, not the family part, but just growing up in that time.
Well, it was a middle class town, not now, but at that time it was middle class. My mother was on her third marriage, and it was a tough time for me because of the parents because of my mother and stepfather that I was living with. Very difficult time. I had a few friends, but I was always, they were always told, don't hang out with her because of her parents always having the police there. They were both alcoholics.
Okay. What was that time like as far as the California? What was going on at that time? You know, from your teenage years and
Yeah, I was 13 when we moved there, because prior to that in California, my mother had moved so many times. I can't tell you where we lived, but in San Diego was the starting point of, I was 13, and I wasn't into smoking a lot of pot and LSD.
Okay.
That was popular back then.
Okay. All right. You had mentioned to me offline, and you kind of alluded to it just now, your childhood was very dysfunctional. And you just said both your mother and you said your stepfather were alcoholics, correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah, very violent.
Do you think your childhood helped lead you into years later being kind of recruited into the MAGA cult, coming from that environment?
Yes, actually, I've learned a lot from a good therapist, that a lot of people like myself that suffer from childhood PTSD issues, they still gravitate to drama and narcissists. And of course, Trump's a narcissist. And they're trying to relive their childhood to figure out what they did wrong. So they get drawn to people like Trump very easy, because they're looking for this father figure that's going to save them or whatever they're thinking. But yeah, it's very common. for people like myself. In fact, there's a book that says a lot of the women that are out there, and men, I'm sorry, both, that are protesting a lot, are fighting back in the wrong direction. Instead of dealing with their childhood, they're out there just creating drama and redirecting their anger in the wrong places.
Okay. I want to read something, then we'll talk about it on the other side. You're a retired professional substance abuse counselor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. As you proudly mentioned in videos, you're a recovering alcoholic with over 44 years of sobriety. Bravo on that, Pam.
Yeah.
You completed your education in alcohol and drug studies in Bakersfield, California University. You also owned and operated an outpatient DUI treatment clinic for years before relocating to Idaho, and then you retired. What I would like to do is talk about owning and operating an outpatient DUI treatment clinic.
Yeah, that was in what was that, Oregon? Yeah, there were too many places I'd been working that I just didn't like the way they were treating the patients. I thought, I'm going to open up my own and do it my way. Not really my way, but my policies and my way of treating alcoholics and drug addicts. So I got a state license. You have to be approved. And it was really interesting to find out that 80% of my clients weren't alcoholic. They just weren't thinking.
What else can you tell us about that? How many years did you do that?
Oh, that was probably about 7 years, maybe.
Okay.
What happened? My brother come to stay with me, and he got 2 DUIs.
Ah.
And the probation officer that was sending them to me says, if you can't sober up your brother, I don't know if I should send you clients. And I thought, well, wait, I have no magic wand. I don't fix anybody. But that's kind of what messed up my business.
Okay. Family, huh? What's family for? But to F up shit. Okay.
He gets two DUIs.
2 DUIs. Okay. I want to ask you a quick question, and then I want to read something and we'll talk about it on the other side. Do you recall, I'm not asking the exact date, but were you part of the supporting Trump when he started running in 2015? Were you pretty much on board then?
I think when he came down the elevator.
Yeah, which was 2015. Okay. I want to read something to you. It's a little lengthy, and then I want to ask you some follow-up questions. Trump began his campaign for president when he and his mail order bride wife, Mercedes. Oh, wait, I mean Melanie. No, I mean Melania. It's also confusing because Donald has called her 3 different names, which is ridiculous. And then he does a video the other day and said, he knows what her name is. Okay, right. He tweeted Melanie. He called her Mercedes. So he's full of shit. Anyways, on June 16th, 2015, he came down, as we just said, the gaudy gold elevator with his seldom seen wife and announced to the world he was running for president. He famously said, quote, when Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best, as he claimed the country was dispatching immigrants to the U.S. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. You also had Trump being interviewed by Frank Luntz on July 18th, 2015, when then candidate Trump said this about John McCain, who I always say I didn't agree with probably 98% of his policies, but as far as his service, I will not let anybody on the left or the right attack his service. He was a war hero. He couldn't lift up his arm to comb his own hair. He spent all those years in Hanoi Hilton, and the people that attack him couldn't spend one effing day in the Hanoi Hilton. So it disgusts me that they do that. So he said, and I quote, he was a war hero, excuse me, because he was captured. I like people who weren't captured. Finally, on October 7th, 2016, 1 month before the United States presidential election, the Washington Post published a video and accompanying article about then presidential candidate Donald Trump and television host Billy Bush have an extremely lewd conversation about women in September 2005. So you had all those things, Pam, right there. Attacking women, disgusting, grab them by the you-know-what. I know you brought it up. You had him attacking a war hero. I'm sure that you appreciate veterans. I've seen you say things about veterans, okay? And then you had him talking about Mexican people in a very negative light. So my question is, at that point, Pam, because I don't think that you're the typical MAGA person that I see at these rallies. And I'm not just saying it for the camera. If I thought something, I would say it. You know that. I think you're much more intelligent than these average MAGA that they put the microphone in front of them and they just say the craziest crap. Now, people may come on this video after it goes live and say, no, Pam is this and Pam is that. I'm speaking for me. You had three things that I just pointed out that were all factual because it's the only thing I deal on my show with. What was going on in your mind to say, I'm Republican, but I can't vote for this guy? I'll write in John Kasich, who was running that year. I know he didn't, do anything, or anybody else but Trump. What made you stay even after those three things, which were three very big things? And the Republican Party did nothing about it, by the way.
It's very painful when you share this. And I feel so ashamed that I would ever have considered such a monster of this, oh my God. At the time, I'm extremely influenced by my brother, extremely. My family are highly educated, owners of huge corporations, and I trusted them. But the gaslighting, they had gaslighting, didn't even know they had gaslighting, by telling me, oh, men say those things in a locker room. And I don't think he really meant that he didn't like veterans. I mean, they just change your thinking about it in a way that you question yourself. And I lost me. And that's why I say shame on me and shame on you for not doing your own research, listening to yourself instead of your family, your friends, or anybody. Listen to your gut feeling, because I always carried it. I didn't like him from the start, especially with the P word, but you know how they minimize that.
Right.
And a lot of things. Now I'm disgusted at myself. I'm having to work on this, that I was ever involved with these sick people. It hurt me when you were sharing that stuff, that I didn't pay attention. You know what I mean? I was just as mad at me as a lot of people.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And I want to address that locker room talk, because I've done locker room talk. I've had women do locker room talk about me in my heyday when I was a lot younger. There's a difference between locker room talk and saying I am Donald Trump or I'm Brad Berkwitt and I can move on a lady because they let you do it when you're a celebrity. That's rape. No, you don't have the right to move on any woman if that woman doesn't say, I want you to move on me. And his wife said, boy talk. Boy, that's not boy talk. Locker room talk is, hey, he's a sexy guy. I'd like to really get him in the bed, or vice versa, and whether you talk like that or not. But I'm saying, because of who you are, and then saying, give me a tic tac, when he was on the bus. And the hypocrisy is that Billy Bush, which he'll be fine because the last name is Bush and he's related to the Bush family, but he lost his job and Trump went on to be president. It's hypocrisy. And these people that sit in church would not like if someone said, I want to move on your daughter and grab her by the P word. They wouldn't like that very much. They get their shotgun and chase him down the street. You know what? Rightfully so. But Trump gets a pass for everything. Okay. Pam, once you were in the MAGA cult, describe how they combat all facts about Trump and double down on the left that they're just lying and Trump is always telling the truth.
Yeah. Well, what the first thing Trump did was hijack the brain with fear. He put fear into you, which is not a new tactic. It's just that he told all of us that the Democrats want to turn this into a communist nation, and that, they're all liars. And then he hijacks you by saying, taking away your critical thinking by telling you fake news. Don't listen to anybody but me. Dictator. Now I know it's a cult. He's a cult leader. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's a narcissist. But I wasn't aware of those tactics as much back then. But that's what he did with a lot of us. Now, I've been in both spaces on Twitter. You both sound the same, except for the difference. What I've discovered is we got a receipt that they do want to turn this into a communist country with Project 2025.
We're going to talk about that later. Yep. Okay. Pam, for the viewers, I want to talk about some J6 stuff. For the viewers, tell them what your role was on January 6th?
Well, I had just been diagnosed with breast cancer, and my brother called me and said, you've been out there videotaping. I was like, it's amateur video, journalist, just out there having fun, really. And I'm not a real journalist. I was just out, I retired. He says, how about going to see Trump? Because you're going to start chemotherapy. I said, oh, that would be great. It'd be like a little vacation. I was going to stay there 2 or 3 days, and well, maybe about 3 days, and enjoy myself. Just videotape Trump, talk to people. It's just a rally, no big deal. I will be safe. My brother would never put me in harm's way. I mean, if we thought anything crazy was going to happen, I wouldn't have gone. He wouldn't have sent me. So I went there. I got there late at 10:30 in the morning, and I couldn't get through. And I said, what's going on? I missed his speech. And they said, well, he's going to go up to the Capitol. And I had to see again, I didn't listen to my gut feeling. I said, why is he going to the Capitol? He just had a talk. Then I thought, well, there must be something else going on. He's going to talk with the senators. I did not know the transfer of power was going on. I didn't know. That's how abreast I was in politics. I wasn't paying much attention. But did I answer your question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, okay, right. So you went there. No, what I want you to do is take the viewers down to you being at the Capitol and what happened with you that day, and then subsequently what you got charged with.
Okay. God, it's hard as PTSD. It's like I got to relive it all the time.
I'm here. I'm here to guide you. You're in safe hands.
So I'm walking. It's a long walk. I didn't realize how far I was going to have to walk. And I came across, well, first I saw some people and I said, is Trump going to be down at the Capitol? And one reporter said, I don't think so. I haven't heard anything. And then another one said, yeah, I think so. So
let me interrupt you for 1 second, Pam. And I don't know if you saw any of his speech, but remember, he said, I'm sure you saw it subsequently, I'm going to march down there with you, which he got right in the SUV and went back to the White House because they said, you're not going down there to Secret Service. We're not taking you there, Mr. President, at that time.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Okay.
At the time.
So you march down there. It's a long walk.
I come in front of the Capitol and I see these barriers, bike racks with signs. And I thought, oh no, where's he going to be speaking? And I said, why do they got it so guarded? Then I said, now everything I share with you is backed on a video. I just want people to know that. I can always provide the video. And I said, well, it's a good idea because we got some crazy people. So I'm glad they had the security, and because you don't know. So I turned around and I saw a bunch of men walking towards me, and I figured they were the Proud Boys. I'd never met them, but I'd heard about them. So I went up to them, and I'm thinking that they're, oh God, this is so embarrassing. But I'm thinking at the time that they're there for second security to make sure everything's safe for people, right? I'm laughing about it now, but that was my naive brain. And I went up to him and I said, are you going inside the Capitol? I mean, now, oh my God. But they said, no, ma'am, we're not going inside the Capitol. I said, oh, well, because I wanted to be there to videotape them wherever they're going to go, just to videotape. I was live on Facebook. I had 38,000 followers. So they were watching. So I was like their eyes for them. Okay. So I just kept following them, videotape them. Now, I'm not on that violent side. I don't say violent side to minimize my side, just so people know where I'm at. I'm not, is it the west side, east side? I can't remember what side they call it.
Okay.
But I'm not on that terrible, terrible violent side. And I turned around and they're just standing there talking. I thought, well, I'm going to go up front and be up there first because of my stitches. I had to make sure that I'm not trying to get through a crowd. So I got up front and there was a man by the name of William Dunphy that I've learned since he's been arrested. He's talking to a police officer. And I turned to him and I said, what are you guys talking about? He says, we're negotiating. They're going to let us to the steps. I said, oh, that's great. Okay, maybe we're going to get closer to see Trump. I'm so naive at this moment, just guessing stuff. And within seconds, I don't know, maybe a couple of minutes, they start pushing on the barriers. Now, I had taken a pain pill. This is no excuses. I'm not trying to give any excuses. I'm pleaded guilty because
fine. Tell your story. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
I'm not questioning.
I'm in recovery, but I do not. I'm not a martyr. I had pain going on, real pain from 40 stitches. And I got scared. I thought, I better take a pain pill. And it hit me. And then when they were, so I'm thinking, you know how at a football game or a concert, people try to get in too quick. So that's what I thought was happening. And an officer pulls me over. He must have seen me panicking. So I go around, this is what I got charged for, telling people, come on in. They're letting us in. Come on in. It's your house, like an idiot. You could probably see that video on CNN. And I go to the female officer. I said, what's going on? Aren't they letting us in? She says, no, ma'am, they're not letting us in. I said, oh my God. I realized they were trying to force themselves. I said, don't put me back there, please. But she did. She put me back in the same spot because there's nowhere to go. The whole area is packed with people. So she puts me in the same spot. Within a minute, they did it again. And this time I knew. And you can hear me on the video. I'm going, oh my God, I'm stuck right in the middle of this. The same officer pulled me over again. So there's like a buffalo coming at you, and I'm 69 years old. But I ran to this officer, it was the captain. And I said, sir, I've got 40 stitches. I don't know what to do. He says, go up to the steps. I'll call in the officers, tell them to put you behind them. So I did the best I could to get there as fast as I could, trying to stay away from that crowd. I get there, and what happened? Somebody tried to push me on top of an officer, but I was thinking real quick, and I pulled myself back and I landed on my back. Because I didn't want to land on the officer. I could hurt him. And they stepped on my head a lot. And my shoulder got pulled out, my knee got cut, my glasses, I was a mess. I wasn't breathing. And an officer pulled me up. You gotta give me a minute. Every time I think about this, thank God for that officer. He pulled me behind him. You see what happens when I talk about it? So excuse me for a minute.
Okay, be yourself, Pam.
You know, I'm so grateful to those Capitol Police officers. They saved my life because I wasn't breathing. And I got my air, and they had me sit behind them. And then I have it on camera. They just start pushing them on the steps. So there's the evidence, J6ers. Don't call it a peaceful protest.
No, it's not.
I have videos.
It's not just the J6ers, Pam. It's the Republican Party. And Mike Pence and the rest of them. It was just a day in January. It was a tourist. That's bullshit.
Oh yeah. I was there.
Okay, so that happens. I know subsequently you get arrested. I saw all that in researching you. What did they actually charge you with?
Well, there's a little bit more I want to share.
Okay, go ahead.
So after they push the officers get to the top of the Capitol, I get up and start videotaping because I'm really thinking if I could catch anything illegal, I got video for the police department. And I caught a man, he was pulling a book out of a window. I got that video. And I told him, you put that book back. I'm yelling at him.
You're on the video saying that, huh?
I have the video. I put it on Twitter sometimes.
Okay, I got to see all these. Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Okay.
And he puts it back. And I said, we don't steal, we don't harm the Capitol. We stand up for our rights, but that's it. But I talked to the captain. I said, what can I do to help? He said, nothing, because I'm a citizen. But I saw people coming in and out of the doors, the Capitol door. And I thought, what's happened? Did they change their mind? They're letting people in? Dummy, me. So I go over there and I thought, I'm going to get it on camera and ask the officer, are we being given permission to go inside? Well, not being around crazy crowds in my whole life, I didn't think, but I got shoved in. So I got in, and it's on my video. I said, they pushed me in. I sat down, and they were trying to get them back out. And an officer saw me sitting down, and I told him I have 40 stitches. I can't get back in this crowd. They've already stepped on me, pushed me in here. So he helped me get out. But the problem was when I got out, I was walking back around. I saw the Buffalo man, Jacob Chansley.
We're going to talk about him later.
And I videotaped him. And that's what got me in trouble. My arrest was picketing and parading.
Okay.
I should have left.
Okay. And they gave you 60 days in prison, right?
Yeah.
And where did you do time?
Dublin prison in California by Oakland, San Francisco. The worst prison, number 2 listed worst prison in the United States. And
okay. I don't want to go into this next thing too long, but I want to give you a chance to mention her because I saw you talk about it before. And I read some information on her. Go ahead and talk about the lady, the black lady that helped you. Michelle, what's her name?
Free Michelle West.
Right.
She said, Pam, I want you to focus on God and not these women, because I've got the word. What they're going to try to do is put drugs in your water when you're not looking, or in your room, and you could end up with a four-year sentence. And I thought, oh my God, why? Because you're a Trump supporter. It was 95% cartel women.
Wow.
And it was just because of being MAGA, they were mad at me. I get it now. But she saved my life. She made sure that I was taken care of, and they left me alone because of her. And when I left, for a Muslim woman to take off their scarf, I had no hair because of my chemotherapy. She took her scarf off and gave it to me.
Hmm.
That's something for a Muslim woman.
That's a big deal. You still in touch with her? You still correspond?
I have talked to her daughter.
Okay.
I have been given permission to write her, but it's too painful. I just.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to read something that we'll talk about on the other side. Donald Trump commented horrible on his Truth Social account in response to a post claiming you, a grandmother, would have to spend more time in jail than Hunter Biden, who accepted a plea deal relating to a years-long investigation into his taxes. You responded to Trump's comments on Twitter, calling for him to stop using your story to boost his agenda. And I have the tweet. Quote, please, at Real Donald Trump, don't be using me for anything. I'm not a victim of January 6th. I pleaded guilty because I was guilty. Hashtag stop the spin. And it's that you wrote on your platform. So all of a sudden, Trump is using you like he uses people's music without permission, uses you. You admitted you've taken responsibility. What goes through your mind when you see him doing this?
See, that's what was happening constantly. It started when I was in prison with Carl Tucker, calling me Mega Granny and using my case to have everybody believe that the DOJ is weaponized against the J6ers. And I wasn't agreeing with this. It's like they don't call you up and get your permission. And I got sick of it. And I didn't realize that when I made that response, it was even going to go out anywhere. I was just mad. And I was told Gateway Pundit, and they agreed. They told me they wouldn't do it no more. Stop using me. I'm not your example. The DOJ is not weaponized against the J6ers. That's propaganda. That's a lie. Get sick of it.
Okay. What effects on your personal life did this cause? Which I'm sure plenty.
Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, a lot.
Right, but Trump, I mean, death threats, all kinds of crap, right?
Oh yeah, I've had SWAT threats, death threats. I just had one yesterday. Yeah, constant. Family, boyfriend of 12 years left me. He's MAGA. You've lost your mind, Pam. Yeah, it's been very difficult.
Okay. Hey, Pam, kudos for taking responsibility. You're doing the right thing. You've been pushing back on him. Is there any other J6er off the top of your head that has accepted response? And I'm not talking about when he's trying to get he or she is trying to get their sentence lessened. And then like that clown, the Italian guy, which I'm half Italian, the one that busted the window out. And when he's walking out the courtroom, he was talking shit. Dominic something. I can't think of his name. Yeah. He was crying like a baby, but then when he was sentenced, he talked crap. Is there anybody else that has accepted responsibility and, like you, is fighting back against them, or is there nobody to date?
No, that we're trying to find out, and everybody's said they'll get back with me if they hear anything. So if anybody hears anything.
Okay.
But that's why I got sentenced, because of that. Because my judge, Lambert, said, Miss Hemphill, I believe everything you're sharing with me, but I can't trust you guys. You tell me one thing, and then you go out to the media and say a whole different story.
Yep.
So I paid a price for these J6 liars.
Yeah. Okay, I want to read something. We'll talk about it on the other side. You mentioned him earlier. You've mentioned that fraud. I'm trying not to curse on this show, but I got to call him a fraud.
Oh, you can do that.
He's disgusting. He's a fraud fuck. Jacob Chansley, the shaman.
Oh.
I want to remind people who are going to watch this show, and you'll notice, Pam, when I say this, when he got out of prison for his role on January 6th, and by the way, he was crying about his meals weren't vegetarian and this, that, and the other. Okay, tough guy, but you're so tough. He put on a suit and cleaned up his act and tried the godly grift. Not the horns, not the shirt. I know the guy's built. All that shtick that he does. He tried to do it the other way, and it went nowhere. Nowhere. Nobody was buying that crap. He wasn't grifting no money. So now he's back to the makeup and all that bullshit, no shirt on again. So what I want you to do is talk about, so you interviewed him. What was your take on him? Because I remember him being interviewed by the media, and he was loud and bombastic and all of that with no shirt on. I remember him going into, I think he went in front of the podium where Pence was and something like that, if I remember correctly. Talk briefly about him because he's a clown.
Yeah, Tucker didn't tell you in the court records that the officers were asking him to leave. He left that out, right?
Who did? Tucker Carlson?
Yes, in the court records. He didn't
Okay.
tell you that.
Okay.
They're saying that they're walking him around, right? No, they're asking him to leave, but he's refusing. But they don't tell you that part, right? They leave all the other stuff out, the facts. Well, no, today I know that they have mental illness, and I'm not saying this to knock somebody down. It's just a fact. He has been diagnosed with 3 mental illnesses from the DSM-4. I mean, and schizophrenic, paranoia. So he's not well. He's not well at all. And that's why a lot of people say, well, he's not violent. Well, a lot of mentally ill don't become violent, but he's one of those that will instigate violence, though. So what's the difference?
Well, I've seen him at MAGA. I don't know if it was CPAC, might have been CPAC, and going after people, and just, you know, the potential is there for him to do something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying I don't know if in his police record he's ever abused anybody, so I'm not going to say it, but the potential is there by his actions, because he is a big guy. He's very loud. He doesn't mind getting in people's faces, and he can intimidate some of these people. But I want to remind viewers that even though he has mental illness, he did try to godly grip and put on a suit and took off all of the makeup and all that shtick, but it didn't go the way he wanted. And he's back to doing this bit again. But because they do this grifting. Okay. I want to read something, and we'll talk about this on the other side. You're doing something that I feel the Democrats in office are not doing loud enough, and that is talking about Project 2025 with Stephen Miller, who is a racist scumbag, who was a key architect of the immigration policy during the Trump presidency, and a first-class, as I said, racist scumbag, and a major figure in Project 2025, under consideration for a senior role in any Trump second term. Now, as well, I didn't know this guy, but in my research, I found out about him. Some guy named Paul Danes, D-A-N-S, who is the director of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project at the Heritage Foundation. So what I would like you to do, because I know you use your platform quite a bit in interviews that you do talking about Project 2025. And I think it's so important. I don't think the Democrats are pushing it enough. And if they are, I'm not seeing it enough. So what I would like you to do is outline 3 things off of the top of your head from your knowledge about Project 2025 that people need to wake the F up to and pay attention.
Well, it's not new. I would recommend going to Netflix and looking up a documentary called The Family. And there's also a book. It goes back to 1930 and how they indoctrinate everybody into this Christian. It's huge. It's been in the Congress, in the Capitol forever, about these prayer breakfasts they have. But I can't go into all that. But that'll give you some history where it actually has been coming from and where it is now. They call Trump the Wolf King. He's a perfect person for them because he's a chaos junkie, and they need that to push what they want. And as you know, a lot of people are familiar now with the Christian nationalists, and that's what it's all about.
Mike Flynn and that crew.
They will make outlaw birth control. They want to take away the gay rights. The guns, they want to be able to make it where you can go from one state to the other, and you don't have to abide by that state's laws. If you have, you can open carry, on and on. They want to dismantle. And right now they got 3,000 people already hired to go in there and get rid of everybody that's there in the DOJ and the FBI and the health and welfare. They're going to put people in that will do what Trump wants. And if you don't, you're gone, believe me. But what's really frightening too with this Project 2025, they want to outlaw it. If you push back on Trump, the National Guard will come out and arrest you if there's a protest, and his cabinet. So you're not going to be able to speak out like you and I are doing. We're going to get in trouble. Your YouTube will be put down. I'll get some kind of ticket. Shut up, Pam. It's going to be a dictator in the office, almost like back in 1935, 1930. You know who I'm talking about. Sometimes I'm careful I say something because I don't know if you get in trouble on YouTube. The man with the mustache.
Oh yeah, Hitler.
That's
No, I call it. No, let me say, I don't
Okay.
pull no punches. I have said on my show many times that Donald Trump is America's Adolf Hitler. That's how I feel about it.
And
I
you're
stand
right
by
on
my words.
You're watching it unfold right in front of
Yes.
us. You and I and people like us are trying to pull the alarm, and we got to wake these people up, because if they don't go out and vote, there's no nation. It's going to be Hitler nation.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Okay.
We're not exaggerating.
No. Oh no. And I'm not waiting for the courts, Pam. The only way we defeat Donald Trump, and he's not going to shut the F up if he loses.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same bullshit until he croaks. But
Yeah.
the only way we beat him, I'm not waiting on any courts, I'm not waiting on any convictions, is go out and vote in November. That's it. That's all we have to fight back. Okay.
Exactly.
I know the treasonous lying traitor, Tucker Carlson, and I want to address something for my viewers and the MAGA that's going to watch this and come after Pam and I. See, this is where you fuckers get confused with me. And I don't know how you get confused because I don't mince words. You put up a meme and you say, Barbara Walters, George Stephanopoulos interviewed Vladimir Putin. And they did. But here's the difference. He wasn't attacking Ukraine. He was still a piece of garbage, a mass murderer, but they interviewed him. They do these type of interviews. They interviewed Fidel Castro. It happens. But here's the difference that George and Barbara don't do did. Barbara's passed away, God rest her soul. Every single day. Tucker is putting out propaganda that makes Tokyo Rose from World War II look like an angel. Every single day he puts out bullshit information, propaganda that's not true. He went over there and did a softball interview because in the back of his mind, and Pam, I know you'll agree with this, I'm sure, he knew that if he pushed Putin too hard, he might not leave Russia in one piece, or his plane may fall out of the air like the guy that tried to invade from the Wagner group, or however you say it, whose plane got shot out of the sky. Coincidence? I don't think so. He thought he was going to go up against Putin. So that was a ridiculous interview, and how he went around and said, oh, Russia's so great. No, it's not. It's not great. That's why you have people protesting and willing to get arrested, really get arrested and thrown in jail because they want Putin out. So what I want to ask you about that is, we said earlier, he nicknamed you the MAGA Granny. I'm not going to call you that. I hate that nickname. But if you had the opportunity, Pam, to be in a room right now with Tucker Carlson one-on-one, what would you say to that rotten son of a bitch?
Oh man, what do you say? I don't think I'd ever have that opportunity. But
if you did, let's pretend
what
you
a
did.
What a traitor you are to the United States. You're a traitor to put a dangerous narcissist. See, Putin and Trump are identical. You cannot say anything bad about them, period. It's not going to happen. It's a real injury to them. And you're right what you just said about Tucker. That's the truth. He knew he better be careful, and you better be, or you're not going to leave that country. But I would tell Tucker, I'm sorry, how much money do you need? I mean, you're selling your own soul, your own integrity for what? I don't get it. What are you wanting? You really believe all these lies that we're turning into a communist country when you're sitting there with a man that is a communist dictator? You've lost your mind. I hope they find a way to put you in prison.
Yes.
Because you're a traitor.
Yeah.
You're a traitor to this country.
Yep. Okay. If you had the opportunity to sit with Trump, and not sit, stand, sit, what would you say to him?
Oh boy. How dare you? How dare you? Lied to me. You hired 2 agencies to find any evidence that the election was stolen. And they came back with no Donald Trump, we have no evidence. And you had all of us go out there on your lie. And you know how many have been arrested now and gone to prison because you lied, because your self-centeredness and your ego. Oh, I'm just angry when I think about it. I would be probably cursing him out.
Okay. Pam, you should have in front of you, I'll read this. Do you have that picture? Don't put it up yet, but do you have the picture with, okay, let me read this and then we'll go into that talking point. You have a picture and met, as I call him, Donald Toot Jr., because I believe that there's a lot of toot going up his nose, but he's got the audacity to talk about Hunter Biden, okay? But that's what they do. And his father, supposedly, people are saying, like Trump taught us, that's how he taught, that he's got Adderall, hooked on Adderall. But he had no clue. He claimed he acted like he had no clue who you were, and you're famous enough that his dad, as I mentioned earlier in our 360 conversation, tried to use you for publicity that he should have known, but like his father, he doesn't care about you or any other J6er. So hold that picture up if you would. Okay, and tell the people when was that taken and where?
I think it was last Friday. Yeah, right before the primaries in
South Carolina.
South Carolina, Charleston.
Okay.
I'd signed up to go hear him speak, but that morning I got a text saying that I was invited to a luncheon. And I thought, really? Wishful thinking. I thought, oh, maybe he wants me there to find out my story, right? How naive.
Stop being naive, Pam. You're too naive. Stop. You're killing me.
Because why would I get invited to a private luncheon?
Probably because they wanted you to pay, right?
Yeah, maybe that's it. So I go there and I just figured I didn't recognize him. And then if he tells me to leave, I'll go. Because I don't go to these places to interrupt or scream, or I don't do that. But I just go and I'll ask you a question, like I did with Nikki Haley. Do you know anything about Project 2025? And she said no. She lied to me. So I'm there and he comes in. I videotaped his little talk. And he said, oh, enough of me. Let's take pictures. So that's, I took a picture like everybody else was doing. Then I went up to him and I said, I'm a J6 defendant. And he kind of said, oh, I'm sorry about that. And then ignored me, totally turned around, started talking to other people. And I thought, that's it? That's it? He's going to have a private, some kind of talk at 1:00, but it was by invitation, right? Not just for the public, but the open one was going to be at 3:00 at his headquarters. But why not invite me? Why not say, oh, Pam, what happened on January 6th? Tell me a little bit, take a minute, just a minute. Or how about I get a hold of you and we'll talk a little bit about it. I want to know what happened. What's your views on that day? Nothing. Like I was nothing. I don't know how to explain it. It was like, get away from me, really, the feeling. Totally ignored.
Because that's his father. His father probably did the same thing with him and Eric and when they were growing up. So that's what fucking blows my mind, Pam, that these people have nothing in common with the people that support them, the everyday people. Okay? You had McCain ran for president. You had Ronald Reagan. I always tell my friends on the left that you don't have to like any Republican president going back to whomever. But the difference was, and the difference is, that they talked to people, everyday people, and they made a lot of everyday people feel like they were still seen. They wouldn't have allowed a President Reagan, a President Bush, and even Bush Jr., whether you like them or not, would not have allowed the crazies in the party like Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't care what anybody says. I used to love, I don't know if you remember from California, he was a quarterback, Jack Kemp. He was in the Papa Bush administration. I like Jack Kemp. I like John Kasich. Okay? I'm not saying I agree with everything. John Kasich is pro-life, I'm pro-choice, but I like John Kasich. But John Kasich has no room in the Republican Party anymore. That's why he came out in 20 and backed President Biden for president. And he may not agree with all of his policies, and that's fine. But he cares about the country. And these people don't care about the country, And the Republican Party, the ones who remain silent, that don't want to get primaried or wouldn't be willing to talk to you, don't put country first. They put their power. And that's not how it should be. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. It's country over party, at least with me. That's the way I stand. So when you say these things about Don Jr., I want people watching this to hear this. These people don't care about you. They only care about your money, to grift you. That's all they care about. They never had anything in common. You keep talking about the J6ers. Pam, do you know of any J6er that Donald Trump put up the bail money, or he went to visit in the jail when Marjorie Taylor Greene, all them clowns went and visited? Because there was Democrats in there too that were pushing back on, how about he calls them hostages, which is an insult to the people in Israel that are taken hostage. He knows what he's saying, that rotten bastard. And all of the Republicans that stand behind him are just as evil. And every one of them should be voted out of power. And I don't want us to have one party in this country. We have to have two parties to push back on each other. But one party is gone. They're gone. Okay.
You know, I like to share examples.
Chime in.
Huh?
What were we going to say?
This is how Trump works. He gives you a love bomb by what he did, and I'll give you an example with our Senator Tim Scott in South Carolina. He gave him a little hint that he could be VP, right? He used him for the primaries for South Carolina. He'll drop him in a flat second. Same with the J6ers. He's not going to pardon anybody, believe me. He has no ability. It's impossible for him to care about anybody. Not with a narcissist. People really need to understand what a narcissist is. It's like a man in a wheelchair. You're not going to get him to walk. You're not going to get Trump to care about people. It's not going to happen. It's about him. They're coming after me, but they're really coming after you, but I stand in the way. So I'm your savior, right? He does this mind trip with everybody and pulls you in thinking he's caring about you, and he doesn't. Believe me. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she had me out there. She was talking about me. Did she ever write me or call me? No. After I got out of prison, nobody has contacted me. None.
No, because they don't care. They don't care. Okay, Pam, this is what I wanted you to do, and this is going to take a couple minutes, but I would like you to read in full, starting with the first page, your letter to Congress. I want the viewers to hear it. If you can't make something out, or you see this video and you cut it off or whatever, Pam on her Twitter page has it pinned as her post, correct? Isn't that your pinned post on Twitter? So you can go there and read it too. I actually printed it out and I read it, but I would like you now to take the time to read it.
Okay, I have a quote first. The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of all. John F. Kennedy. And bear with me because my eyes sometimes.
Take your time.
My name is Pam Hemphill. I'm a cancer survivor and a retired substance abuse counselor. I owned and operated a state-approved DUI treatment center, and I'm a recovering alcoholic with 44 years of sobriety in August. I was in the crowd at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. I would appreciate my story being entered into the public record to attempt to right the wrongs I have done and to hopefully provide with the American people with facts that sadly too many of us did not know when we arrived that morning on January the 6th. I was charged for my participation in the events that day. I pleaded guilty and I served 60 days in prison. I am not a victim of the government. The Justice Department was not weaponized against me. I was a participant who broke the law. I would like to do my part to contribute to the collective healing that our nation needs after the events of January 6th, as well as address the constant gaslighting perpetrated by those who refuse to accept responsibility for their part in what happened that day and that continues to go on across America. As I mentioned, I'm a retired substance abuse counselor. For over 28 years, I provided assistance and support to people struggling with addiction. As a person in recovery myself, my program involves making direct amends, which means more than just words and simple apologies. It takes action that demonstrates a new way of life. It requires acknowledging and aligning our values to our actions by omitting wrongdoing and then living by those principles. When speaking out with the facts has come at a great risk to my personal safety and well-being. But I believe that not speaking about what I learned only serves to continue to gaslight and lie in order to protect their own interests. I also want others who have felt betrayed or misled to know they are not alone. We have an opportunity to accomplish what we thought we came to the Capitol on January 6th for by admitting our wrongs and sharing the facts. After I retired, I became a hobby of videotaping and documenting political events for the local women's MAGA groups. When I attended these rallies, I felt welcomed. I felt like I was a part of the group of people who truly cared about the country and the Constitution. Looking back, I realized that what I was being told was propaganda. Things like the Democrats were trying to turn us into a communist country, or that the left wanted to do away with the Constitution. The gaslighting caused a lot of fear. That fear kept me engaged because I thought we were saving our country and protecting the Constitution. I was deceived. On January 6th, the betrayal of my trust and loyalty to the movement was not yet realized by me. It wasn't until much later I would understand that those people who I believed were patriots had been using my fear. The desire to be a patriot American was weaponized against the Capitol, the rule of the law, and against the peaceful transition of power. The events on January 6th did not match the ideas I believed I was supporting. I feel ashamed that I couldn't see it at the moment. But my motivation to write this letter is to set the record straight about the events leading up to January 6th and the narrative that has been pushed by others who attended or who have facilitated its inception. Mainly, I want to thank the Capitol Police officers for their heroic and patriotic efforts that day. Oh, this is hard. You see, I'm 70 years old. I was just gone through cancer surgery a few weeks before January 6th. In the crowd, I was pushed down. My head was stepped on, my shoulder pulled out, my knee cut, my glasses smashed. The Capitol Police saved my life that day. I want them to know how truly grateful I am to them and how deeply sorry I am of what happened and how they continue to be treated to this day. The Capitol Police were not causing violence. They did not start the violence. They protected the Capitol, the people inside the Capitol, the rioters, people like me, from the violence that day. They deserve our gratitude and acknowledgement of their sacrifice that continues scars that they carry to this day. Don't forget the 4 that committed suicide. Aside from the events on Capitol on January 6th, the danger to this country still exists. The constant gaslighting, the propaganda that continues to fan the flames of grievance, hate, and anger towards our fellow Americans. Democrats, President Biden, and the federal government must stop. If we are to be patriots who love this country, we must stand up and speak out with the facts. That includes elected officials who claim to demand facts and evidence, but refuses to operate in the same fact-based reality. I am hoping this letter can serve as a part of my amends to the country. I believe there are others like me out there who see that the gaslighting is doing to hurt our country. I hope they join me in pushing back with the lies, against the lies, We need more truth tellers, fact finders, and courageous leaders who are willing to admit when they are wrong and speak up for the truth. I have learned so much in my journey since January 6th. I continue to learn. I am grateful to be able to share my experience with you and my fellow Americans. I ask that everyone work together to build a more perfect union. In order to build this idea, we must establish a foundation of facts. If we do this, we can help this country heal. Stop the spin.
Okay. Bravo.
Mm.
Want to ask you a question off of that, because you always call out the J6 and say, Capitol Police didn't do this, but that's I want to quote Trump. First of all, we know for 187 minutes, let me say this for the MAGA that'll be watching this, 187 minutes, your guy did nothing. He watched it from the White House and enjoyed it because they were doing it on his behalf with his flags and his hats and all of that. Yet, when that rotten, treasonous traitor, misogynistic pig, lying grifter, as I call him daily, did his video, which I believe he shot twice from what I hear people are saying, as Trump always uses, he said, it was, we love you, go home. Now, to me, common sense is a big thing. If it was, as many like to claim, BLM and Antifa, why would old Frumpy Dumpy Trumpy say, we love you, go home? Because when he stood in the debate with then candidate Joe Biden, and I can't remember, the moderator said, will you call out white supremacy? And Trump says, give me a name, give me a name. And Joe Biden says at the time, Proud Boys. And he says, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. Then he comes back on Trump, on Biden with something about Antifa. There's always Antifa with him, be honest. If it was in fact those two groups, why would your stupid, moronic idiot say, we love you, go home? He was telling BLM that? Because you know god darn well, if it was BLM that day, they would have been dead. This is the same rotten son of a bitch that took out a full-page ad against the Central Park Five, who was exonerated, and after they were exonerated, he doubled down on it. Doubled down. So I'm glad that you constantly call January 6th what it is, what it was, I should say, past tense, an insurrection. I'm glad that you say that the Capitol Police, because they put out all these videos from different angles, they did it with Harry Dunn, he did this, he did that, they did this, and they can't stand. I had somebody, some creep, but they hide behind fake profiles and fake pictures and faker profiles. Who died? Sicknick died. You said about, like you said, people committed suicide from this, but nobody died. And one more thing I want to remind viewers, because I only deal in facts. When they had the anniversary, and I'm no Liz Cheney fan, but I do give her credit for putting country over party. I don't agree with her policy or her political ideology one bit, but I give credit where it's due. She is the only Republican that went to the Capitol Police Memorial, and believe it or not, I'm not a fan of his, but I give credit where it's due. Her father, Dick Cheney, went with her when they had the anniversary. Ted Cruz, all those Republicans who are the king and queens of the female centers of thoughts and prayers when we have mass shootings in this country, and everything else is thoughts and prayers, which they can stick up there, you know what. I'm tired of thoughts and prayers. They were the only ones that went. Trump has never acknowledged the Capitol Police, except for one, and that's the black officer that shot Ashley Babbitt. Maybe if Ashley Babbitt would have done what a lot of these racist people like to say, if they would just comply, they wouldn't get shot or killed like George Floyd. If he would have just complied, how was he going to comply? He had a knee on his neck by Derek Chauvin. But this is the rhetoric that they spew. Maybe if Ashley Babbitt would have just complied, she'd be alive today. But it doesn't change the fact that she was a treasonous traitor. And the Freedom Corner, or whatever the hell they call them nuts out there, that all of those people are out in it. This lady was arrested. Okay? She didn't run. She was arrested. She did 60 days as a 69, 70-year-old woman, and it has owned what she did. But these people were political prisoners in hiding. Nelson Mandela, Stephen Biko, those were political prisoners. The J6ers are treasonous traitors. And Pam, you say something that I say all the time. Any veteran, and I'm speaking as a veteran, and they can't fucking stand when I say this, that went to the Capitol, I don't care if you got PTSD, I don't care what your VA benefit is for. You went there because Trump sent you there. You believed in Stop the Steal. You try to overturn a free and fair election. You should lose every single benefit that you have and let it go to some guy that didn't go there. Let the veterans that can't get enough VA benefits to cover their things that didn't, and I don't even care if they're Republican. That's fine. I'm not choosing, but didn't go to the Capitol that day to do what you did. You should lose your benefits and be locked the fuck up. You're not political prisoners. Okay? So I'm glad that you pushed back on that. I'm glad that you called January 6th an insurrection. I'm proud of you for writing that letter. And I appreciate you writing that letter because you could have went off, you could have done your time and just hid under a rock for the remainder of your life. And you choose not to do that. No, I don't agree with you going to the Capitol. No, I don't agree with you being MAGA. I'd be a liar if I said that. But it's how you started, it's how you ended. But also, I'm not minimizing that you were there, but you also weren't with a flag or a fire extinguisher or bear spray or all that other shit. Or even worse than that. You weren't deaf. I told Deb this, and she's like, no. I said, no, babe, watch, this is going to happen. I said, I promise you when stories come out, they shitted in offices. They defecated in offices. They did all of that disgusting stuff. They rubbed feces on the wall. You did. How does that help your side? That's not normal. That's disgusting. Okay.
I'd like to share just one thing.
Go
the court records have never have anybody arrested that was Antifa or Black Lives Matter. That's another propaganda lie. And I also have the receipts that J6 defendants have admitted to opening the doors. The Capitol Police did not open the doors. They got so many lies out there.
Yeah.
We could debunk all of them.
Yeah, we'd be doing 12 hours every day for a year. Okay, yeah. Let's do this. I want to take a short commercial break, and then I want to come back in and do the second half, the rant. So if you got a vape, do whatever you want to do, man, right now. And let's have some fun, just some easygoing questions. Whatever you say is the right answer. But we're gonna, at that note, we're gonna take a short commercial break. Hey folks, this is Bad Brad Berkwitt, the host of the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. And I want to talk to you about sponsorship. If you're interested in being a sponsor on the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show that features network guests and entertainers and people from all walks of life in business and other areas, reach out to me at ringsidereport2014@gmail.com. Again, that's ringsidereport2014@gmail.com. I'm finally in a position that I'm ready to take on sponsors. So, hey, reach out to me and let's get you on board. I want to talk to you about my book, Boxing Interviews of a Lifetime. If you watch my show, The Bad Brad Berkwitt Show, you know that I love doing 360 conversations with all types of people. Well, I made my bones in boxing over a quarter of a century ago, interviewing world champion boxers, people in the sport, and entertainers that love the sport of boxing, which led to my induction into the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame in June of 2021. And that's the ring that you see me wear all the time on my show. Well, if you'd like to pick up my book, Boxing Interviews of a Lifetime, go to authorhouse.com. Again, it's authorhouse.com. And if you would like to get it personally inscribed or inscribe for somebody that you're sending to as a gift, you can reach out to me and we can arrange for something as well. All right, folks, we're now back with Pam Hemphill. She read her letter to Congress in full. I don't know if have you ever done that on a show before?
No.
Good. I'm glad you did on mine. I want to ask you random fun questions, and whatever you come up with, like I said, is the right answer. First one is going to be, what is your favorite genre of movies?
I like Rambo.
Okay. Action movies.
And of course, Rosa Parks, her story.
Okay.
That uplifts me. She did the right thing. She didn't ask permission. And so she's kind of like a hero to me.
Actually, you like action type of movies?
Yeah.
Genre?
Yeah.
Okay. What is a movie that you could see over and over again and never gets old?
Pool Hall Junkies.
Okay.
I love that movie.
Okay. You shoot pool?
No, but my son is pretty. He's almost like a champion. Yeah, I love pool.
Okay.
But the movie is inspiring. It's funny.
Okay. Do you have a favorite TV show that you've never missed one episode?
No,
No?
I don't watch TV.
Okay. I watch your videos. I know you love to dance and put out some great
Yeah.
music and all that. I know they're really cool. You're having a good time. Do you have, this is kind of tough because I know favorite is tough because there's so many. If not a favorite musical band, a band that you could listen to all the time.
Well, yeah. See, I'm 70 years old, so I've always been Motown. I'm Diana Ross and the Temptations, and but I like all different kinds of music. But I could listen to James Brown and all the Motown, and I was just raised with it, and I just love that kind of music.
Okay. I know we talked earlier. I always like to ask this question. If you don't have one, then I understand. But I know your childhood was rough. But do you have a favorite memory that was positive, maybe outside of your household, something you did when you were a kid that pops in your head that you actually enjoyed?
That's a hard one. I was with my brothers climbing mountains. They didn't like me coming with them. I had 4 brothers. We don't want to bring Pammy. You don't want a girl hanging out with you when you're a boy. But I always had enjoyed being with my brothers.
Okay.
That was the peaceful time of getting out of that house.
Okay. Okay. What is your favorite noise or sound you like to hear?
Oh, I would say birds
Birds?
singing. Yeah.
Okay. Now flip that question. Least favorite noise or sound?
Trains.
Okay. It's funny. A lot of people say trains, and I don't know if you ever saw this episode. If not, I'll send it to you. There was an old I Love Lucy when they were traveling to California, and they stayed in an old hotel, and the train was making their beds. Did you remember that episode? You remember that one? It was hilarious. When people say trains, I always have that vision. What is your favorite food?
Mexican.
Okay. Okay. Particular dish or all of it?
Tacos and enchiladas, cheese enchiladas.
Okay. What is the first job on the books or off the books you ever had?
I've never shared this. Well, let me see how I can put it, because I am an open book and there's no secrets in my life. Because I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous. I tell my story all the time. But I was wanting to be a nun when I was 18.
Okay.
Believe this or not. And I got out of a group home because I'd been running away from home because of my childhood. Got in trouble, got put in a girls' group home. Decided I want to be a nun though. But when they released me from that group home, I started back to drinking. This is my alcohol and drug story. And I landed up with friends with this lady. We ended up going inside this bar, and it was one of those bars.
Strip club.
And I did that for a long time. And so from wanting to be a nun, so that's alcoholism and drug addiction. It takes you a lot of places you would never go.
You know what's interesting? For some reason, when you said that, balloons went up. I don't know if you saw it on your screen. Balloons went up.
Yeah.
I didn't add those, folks. The balloons on her side. That's funny because Glenn Kirshner was on my show a couple weeks ago, and I don't know what it is that he hit, but balloons went up too. Okay.
It was the Wild Goose in Los Angeles, California. It's closed now. In fact, I've been thinking of writing my book about that.
Okay.
It's called The Dancing Queen.
Okay. And you still love dancing. I'm not saying that type of dancing, but you still love dancing.
That's why I dance.
Okay. Do you have a favorite vacation destination that you like to go to?
Oh, yeah. My dream is Italy, to go to Italy.
Okay. Have you been?
No, I've never been anywhere.
Okay. Okay. Pam, if you could meet one person from any time in history, dead or alive, any walk of life, who would you like to meet and what would you like to talk to that person about?
Mother Teresa.
Okay.
How to stay loving and forgiving towards people that are, mean to you. But just, I would like to meet her. I loved her.
Me too.
They did a smear campaign on her, you know that?
Yeah, they did. I loved her too. Okay. I want to ask you something I was going to ask you earlier, but off of that, how you talk to people. I feel this. I'm not saying that you do, but I feel that the MAGA cult is gone. I think after January 6th, if that wasn't their bridge too far, okay, I don't care if they vote still Republicans. That doesn't bother me. I never had problems with Republicans, but these aren't Republicans. These are traitors. These people in power. Pam, do you think that they're done? I mean, we could talk because I go after them now. I don't try. I'm done talking. The talking is done. I talk about them. I do. I'm done. I'm not willing to reach out. I'm not really willing to do it because it's a waste of time. When I see them interviewed at these rallies and they get hit with facts and then they double down with insanity that makes no sense. They quote Donald Trump about the bleach. At first they said it was Joe Biden about the, swallow the bleach and shove a light up your ass. And then they say, oh, it was from the Jimmy Kimmel show. And they say, oh, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. That was Donald Trump. And the lady says, oh, well, CT scanner. You just said Joe Biden has dementia when you heard that quote. Pam, they're gone.
They're gone.
I don't know if you feel like that or not, but I don't see very many people coming out of the MAGA cult 4 years later.
Well, Love Parnas explained it to me very well the other day. What we had in the Congress was the far left and the far right, but we had the Republicans and the Democrats would come together and push those two back, like your Margie Taylor Greens.
Right.
But they're too frightened because of Trump. You ever heard in your whole life an ex-president criminal telling Congress, Mike Johnson, what to do?
Yep.
It's unheard of.
Yes.
But he's controlling them. And who wants to put their family in harm's way? I couldn't sleep last night. I was looking out my window because I got another death threat. I get it. And if you're in Congress, what are you going to lose? And I did a video. I talked to them. I said, you want to hang on to that car in that position to be bullied by Trump? And you were hired by the people. They put your trust in you. And you're in there bowing down to Trump? How dare you? You're a traitor to this country. Get your, can I say balls?
Yeah.
And do something. Push back on Trump. Don't let him bully you and don't compromise your integrity because all that stuff isn't even worth it down the road.
No, but you know what? Everything you said, I was spot on. I agree, but they're not going to. They had every opportunity. They had every opportunity when Trump lost to get rid of him and bring back the Republican Party. No, I don't agree with the Republican Party. I'm not a Republican, but however, they had a chance to become more inclusive, not exclusive, and they become more exclusive now than they ever have been. And like you said, you had a bipartisan border. Look, I'm no fan of Langford out of Oklahoma. I don't like him. I really don't. But I do give credit where it's due. He came up with a bipartisan border bill, and the Democrats worked with them. They wanted to get it passed. Trump said, don't take a vote on it.
Right.
He wants to run on it. He wants to run. Yeah. He didn't build, his wall didn't do shit. And Mexico wasn't going to pay for it. Mexico didn't pay a dime for it. But he tells them this shit and they believe it. Okay.
Yeah.
What I want to ask you next is with everything we discussed today, Pam, during our 360 conversation, if you had to sum yourself up as a human being on this very day, what would you say?
You mean, I'm not sure of the question.
Okay. How would you sum yourself up? I'm asking you how you would sum yourself up as a human being, as a person. How do you see yourself?
Well, I would say I've really leaned all the way to the Democrat Party for sure. I feel I'm a good person. I got pulled into a cult and didn't realize that you don't see a president being a cult. And now it's important that we learn about this and share about how important it is to realize you're in a cult because you don't recognize it. And you don't see the gaslighting and all this red flags going on because of all the gaslighting. But I would say I'm a good person today. I'm trying to do the best I can to make amends for the past and teach others about the truth of Trump, and how dangerous he is. And, I live a 12-step program. So part of the steps is to admit when you're wrong. And I ask God every day to do his will. And if he doesn't want me speaking out, I'll stop. But I still feel motivated to continue I have days though. I want to stop because it's trauma to remember this all the time. But I feel it's important right now because our country is so much in danger of losing it. We got this crazy Trump out there that has to be stopped. And so whatever little part I can do, I want to be a part of that and help any way I can. You just tell me what I can do. If it's pass out pamphlets for the dominant, Democrat Party.
Okay. All right. Final question I want to ask you is, what is your message or hope for humanity? Because that's what this show is all about, humanity, moving humanity forward.
Yeah, we need to get back to the very simple rule: do unto others as you would have them do to you. It's that simple. It's so easy. It's too simple. And if I stop and think, I'm going to do to you right now what I want you, but that doesn't I'm not saying the reason I was attracted to you is because of the way you send your message. I love it. I want more of you. I wish there were more of you out there. That doesn't mean we sit back and be doormats and just let Trump go on with his lies and his behavior. We call him out. That is love. That's love. To call him out and say, you're lying, and we got the receipts. That is real true love. And that's what I wanted you to do to me. I wish people would say, Pam, you're in a cult and you need to get out. I love you, dear, but you need to hear some facts. And we need to be no, don't be so soft on these people. No, put it out there. Let them hear it, because that's what helped me. When my therapist said, Pam, you're not a victim. I don't want to hear you're January 6th victim. You could have left. You were a participant. You're guilty. And that's what part helps turn me around, because you were honest with me. You didn't want let me candy coat anything. And that's what I love about you. You don't candy coat it. We need to stop babying these people.
Yeah, no, that's not me. Okay, what I want to do is give the viewers where they can find you on social media, Pam.
Well, I'm on Twitter now, called X. It's at Pam Hemphill 79, and I've been checking out TikTok, but they won't let me go in any lives right now. For some reason, I got reported, because that's what's happening. This smear campaign is so bad. I'm getting hit on both sides. So it's very difficult. And I have a YouTube channel, but I only use it to share some of my videos from January 6th, some of the things I'm talking about.
Okay. I want to close out with a few thoughts, and then I'm going to give you the microphone to close out completely today. First of all, again, Pam, I appreciate you coming on, telling your story. I commend you for what you're doing. And I will say this. I'm not your preacher. I can't absolve you of anything, but I can commend you in the fact that you're doing the right thing. You took responsibility. I haven't seen one other J6er do it. They continue to lie about it was the Capitol Police, it was BLM, it was Antifa. I'm so tired of hearing Ashley Babbitt's mother. They make me sick. And with Mickey or whatever her name is, they make me sick. And you know god darn well that someone's funded him, because they don't have the money to stay over there and whatever that's Freedom Corner all the time, every day. It's just ridiculous. They're not political prisoners. Your daughter was not. I don't care. Okay, it was a tragic event, but your daughter had no business going there. And if it was a black person, you wouldn't have cared. So the truth of the matter is, you need to leave DC and take your butt home, but you're not going to, because somebody behind the scenes is funding you. Continue to do what you're doing. As long as you stay on the path that you're staying on, Pam, I support you. You have access to me. I'll bring you back on the show. If you need me to retweet something out that you got going on, I got you. Okay?
Yeah.
All right? Like I said, it's not always where we start, it's where we finish. And one thing that I am forgiving of you, I said earlier, didn't agree with you going there. But what the difference was for me to have you on the show today was you weren't over there spraying them with bear spray. You weren't over there hitting them with fire extinguishers or beating them with the American flag or climbing up the thing. Okay, and all of that evil shit that they did. Pushing that poor officer, I can't think of his name, that they got caught in the thing that spins it around and he was spitting blood out. All of that. Exactly. Exactly. So I hope that Congress reads your letter or put your letter into the record. I would like you, I know it's hard, but I would like you to continue to do what you're doing. I will support you where and when I can. You have my platform. Okay. And again, bravo on the letter that you wrote. I do feel, I know people are going to say to me, Brad, Pam is this, that, and the other. I speak for me. And until Pam proves me wrong, and if she does, I'll be the first one to say, you know what? I'm not with Pam no more. I don't agree with her. She's in another cult, whatever the hell it is. If I see something I don't like, I'll confront you with it. And if you say, no, this is where I'm at, then guess what? This is where I'm not at. That's how I am. With that said, I want to give you back the microphone today to close out with anything you want.
I just remind people of Herbert Spencer when he said, what leaves a man in everlasting ignorance is contempt prior to investigation. So stop thinking that you know what January 6th is all about, that you have the truth, because you don't. To be open-minded enough to research, do your own research the court records, ask questions, read books, because your ignorance is keeping you ignorant by making up your own mind what happened January 6th. Don't listen to me or anybody. Do your own research, and trust me, when you discover what I discovered, it's frightening. It was an insurrection. It was a riot, and the Capitol Police are the heroes. They are criminals, and yes, they deserve everything they're getting right now, and so do I, and it's okay to stay angry at me. I get it. You should be. Shame on me for being there. However, I have to move on and try to help people get out of that crazy MAGA cult.
Hey, Pam. Best I can. Okay, one final question. Was it a felon? Can you still vote? Was it a felony charge that you caught?
No, it was a misdemeanor. Picketing and parading is the lowest you can get.
Okay. Okay, so you still have the right to vote.
Yeah, I voted for, it was in Newsweek. I voted for Biden in the primaries here in South Carolina.
Good, good. All right, well, hey, we're going to close out on that. Again, thanks for coming on, Pam, and we'll fight together on Twitter, and hopefully one day we'll meet in person.
I feel so blessed to have met you. Thank you.
All right, take care.